to the Tay and Todd Washington Football Team podcast brought to you by Fansided. Todd, we are on a 2-game win streak.
Yeah.
2 very big
counts.
convincing wins. How you feeling?
So does 2 games count as a streak?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right then. Man, I give up. I give up rooting for one thing or the other because it feels like when I root for them to win, then they want to lose. And then when I say, okay, well, then you might as well lose, that's when they start winning. At the end of the day, winning always feels better, yes.
Sure.
If for no other reason that, it's just the environment and the atmosphere in the city with other fans, with non-fans, on social media, on TV and all that. It's always better. I enjoy listening to other people's stuff way more, or watching football shows way more. I know personally I don't listen to a lot of content or Washington football content when they're losing a lot, ironically, because I know we produce it. But and then I don't watch a lot of like NFL Network or ESPN or talk about NFL because I just, I don't want to see them. I don't want to be reminded that we lost.
Yeah.
But today is nice because we won. We ruined Cam Newton's homecoming to Carolina, which I really like because I respect Cam as a player, but I'm not a big fan of his. And then the Cowboys lost to the Chiefs and really lost in an ugly way. So it was fun. It's fun now being able to go. They're going to talk about the Cowboys, guaranteed. And then if they don't talk about us, that's fine, but they won't be talking about how Cam Newton came back to Carolina and blah, blah, blah against Washington. So I'm feeling good, Tay. How are you feeling?
I'm doing good too, man. I'm excited. My expectations are still right where they need to be, where I'm okay if they win and I'm okay if they lose. So but if they win, like we mentioned last week, if they win against Carolina this Monday night game,
Seattle.
Yeah. If they beat Carolina and they win, well, going into this game on Monday, it's going to be a lot of intrigue. See a couple scenarios where they could end up having the 7th seed if they win on Monday night. So This is going to get interesting. Seattle doesn't look good.
No, they're struggling, man.
They're struggling big time, and I think this is an audition for Russell Wilson.
I do want to talk about that.
There's bigger things, but long story short, I'm feeling good. It's always good to have a Monday after a victory because then you can watch football the rest of the night. Like yesterday was relaxing. I watched the game. I watched the Cowboys lose, and then after that, I watched the Sunday night game, some good football. So you can enjoy football, the week of football, when your team gets that win.
Yeah.
So Oakland doesn't look good. So I think it's going to come down to this last stretch. So I'm excited that they're going to play meaningful football. I guess from here on out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, pretty much. I guess that is the toughest part is meaningless games, which I guess, they can be meaningful on the other side of things, but still it's weird because if you kind of want for them to, lose, for example, because they're bad and you want, draft position, that sort of thing. You don't want them to lose bad. It's I want them to play well. I want them to keep it close and then just lose on a last second field goal or, lose on a fluke play. But for now, I'm just riding on the wave of what they're doing. They've clearly, things have started to click offensively and defensively. You mentioned that scenario that it's probably still too early to start talking playoffs, but here we are. You sent this. If the Eagles lose to the Giants, the Saints lose to the Bills, the 49ers lose to the Vikings, and if Washington beats the Seahawks, then they will have the seventh seed at the end of Week 12. So, I mean, and none of that is impossible. None of that's crazy.
Nope.
So they are, and they know that. This is they're talking about that for sure. It is nice to see the team just clicking, though. And it's the last 2 weeks that they won for exactly the reasons that they lost the 2 games before that, against the Vikings and the Packers, where the defense did play better, but offensively, it wasn't a matter of moving the ball. It was a matter of finishing drives. It was a matter of penalties, of negative plays, of failing in the red zone, just not scoring enough, even though you had the opportunity to score. And then now They scored 29 against the Bucks. They scored 27 against the Panthers, and they had opportunities to score more in both of those games, but they still managed to score what they did. So I want to talk about the defensive performance because I tweeted this out. Let me look it up, pull it up. But just about how significantly the defense has improved these last 4 weeks compared to the first 6 weeks. Let's see if I can find it. So the first 6 weeks of the year, they had allowed 423 yards a game, 31 points a game, 57.8% on third downs, and had committed 8 penalties on third down that either directly or indirectly led to a conversion. And when it's the 57.8% on third downs, that doesn't include if there's a penalty. That's that's not factored in. So there were a number of third downs that pass interference, defensive holding, whatever. So they're really probably closer to 60%. We all remember that. It just feels like there were so many plays on third down where they were giving them up. Now the last 4 weeks, 286 yards a game, so almost 150 less. 20.25 points a game, so almost 11 less. 43.2% third down conversion rate, so almost 14% less, and then no penalties on third down committed. So probably close to 17% less on third downs. Significant difference, Tay.
Huge difference.
Huge difference. And the thing is, these numbers, so the points per game is pretty good. That's above average. The yards per game is also above average, and the penalties is good. The third down conversion, 43%, is not great. It's closer to average. Great would be in the 30s. But it shows you, if you even had an average third down defense for this entire season, you would have been probably a much better defense. And the weird thing about it with the third downs is that it's like a snowball. When you allow more third downs, you face more third downs, and then you allow more third downs. So they faced 90 third downs through the first 6 weeks. And they faced 42 or 44 in the last 4 weeks. So they're down, I think, 4 third down plays per game these last 4 weeks. That makes a big difference too. The other teams are just not having long sustaining drives like they had been before, and they haven't been giving up significant chunk plays. So in your opinion, what is the biggest difference on defense?
I want to say the offense. I'm going to say the fact that the offense are sustaining long drives. They're running the football and they're playing hand in hand. They're not tired. They're able to rotate and they're getting off the field. That's what I believe is, and they're tackling. They're tackling.
Yeah, they're tackling.
They're swarming to the football. But my biggest thing is Heinicke controlling the game, similar to what Alex Smith did last year. Although he didn't put up big numbers, he was very manageable. He didn't put the defense in bad spots. He allowed them to get rest. He sustained drives for the most part. And I think that's what's helping this football team, the defense particularly, is that they're running, they're sticking to the run. And that's what I love. That's the difference between the first 6 weeks and the last 2 weeks, is that they're running the football and they're controlling the time of possession for the most part. So, got
you. Yeah, for me, it's tough. It's kind of weird because it feels like it's for one, you lost Chase Young and Montez Sweat, who's supposed to be 2 of your best players, but yet you've been playing. I mean, this yesterday was, again, a really solid defensive performance. Last week without Sweat and then without Chase at a certain point was probably your best defensive performance of the year. It's so weird, and it just goes to constantly remind you that it's not about what's on paper, and it's about how the players play individually and about how they play together. I just feel like it comes down to execution on defense. I think that, and this is without doing a deep dive and watching the All-22 and really seeing, this guy's doing this and that. I think guys are just playing their positions better. They're playing their responsibilities better. In zone defense, especially, a player like Cameron Curl, who I thought did a really good job against Christian McCaffrey yesterday. And I feel like if you played him week 2, it may have been John Bostic out there, and Christian McCaffrey would have gone for 100 receiving yards or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bobby McCain, I think, has been playing his spot well and just being where he needs to be.
Mhm.
So I mean, they run more zone defense, and so a lot of the problems were just that guys were just like zone defense. You really have to be in sync, and you have to like move like water together as
Mhm.
the play develops offensively and defensively. And I think they were doing that terribly, and now they're in sync. They're kind of playing off of each other, and then pass rush wise, they're just you're getting enough pressure from the interior, but then
Yeah.
on the edges, I mean, look, I still have my questions about if Chase Young was being told to play contain in a lot of situations. I don't know, but the amount of times that he just rushed past the quarterback was weird.
Mhm.
But you're not really seeing that from these guys who are playing now. Now they're not getting a ton of pressure themselves necessarily, but the pocket is able to collapse because they're not over rushing the quarterback and the
Right.
pressure is coming from the interior.
Mhm.
So I'm impressed by the defense, and I really, really hope that they can continue where they're at now because, like, it because they're supposed to be better than what they were. Like they were never supposed to be as bad as they were the first 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah, I think it'll carry over.
Hmm.
I think the defense is here to stay, especially with those NFC East games.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see physical football. I think this is what Ron wants. He's a hard nosed guy, and a lot of those guys who won last year are the same guys on the team this year for the most part,
Right.
and they know how to win in December. So it would not surprise me if they continue to keep it up. And that all started with the trenches last year, I believe. Where we got hurt was when Gibson got hurt last year, and I'm interested to see if it carries over. I believe it will, and the main reason is because of I feel like the expectations aren't as high when you have two of your star pass rushers out. So
Mm.
now you can just play football.
I see. There's nothing else. I mean, that's a good point.
You know,
There's a huge psychological element to sports that is
big time.
like tough to quantify, but very much a factor.
Yeah, huge.
Do you want to do our? Or I'll just as always check out our sponsors. Hot Chikn Kitchen in Woodbridge, Virginia. Get the best Nashville style chicken sandwich in the area. Try them out and go shopping at the mall and just make a day out of it. But definitely go there and try them out. Really great service, really great food, and it's minority and veteran owned business. So support them. And then check out Dun Pro Financial. Start your 7-day free trial. Get your credit on track. Get your finances in order. Click on the link below, whether you're listening, whether you are on YouTube. There's links below. Start your 7-day free trial. Check it out. And if you don't like it, you can cancel it. I want to ask you about Antonio Gibson because he had a good game yesterday. Now, he had two terrible plays. The fumble, of course, and then he gave the Panthers an extra 40 seconds on his last carry of the game by going out of bounds. But other than that, he looked more explosive. There's one cut up I just remembered I need to, or not cut up, but just a snippet of a play where he left someone on ice. He skated past someone, which we honestly haven't seen him do a lot of this year. But like, where do you stand on Antonio Gibson? I guess as a player, as a running back of the future here for Washington.
I think he has the potential to do so. I think he has to cut down on those mental issues. I think last night we saw a good. This is going to be huge for him. This last stretch is going to be huge for him. If he can be a power back, catch out the backfield, and do all that stuff. I want to see more from him.
Mm.
You cannot turn the ball over. We've been putting up with it way too
He's
much.
got how many fumbles? Is it 5? I gotta check.
It's terrible. It's
Yeah.
really bad. So um, I would say he's okay. I love his. I want to see him more involved in the passing game. I don't know why he hasn't been. Maybe split out wide some, but McKissick ran the football
Yeah.
very well yesterday,
I agree.
extremely well yesterday. So I don't know if that was just the O line or the player himself, but I think the offensive line played very well last night, yesterday, and I think that factored into them both. But I think the last two games he's been playing, he played very well despite the fumble that you just cannot have. And I'm glad that Ron benched him because he came out with
Yeah.
more purpose
Right.
in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. I like that he benched him. I thought we may not see him for the rest of the game, but he came back, and you can tell that he's like in his head after these negative
Yeah.
plays because it's happened twice. Not yesterday. Well, against the Chargers and against who else was it that he fumbled against? Let me see. Was it maybe the Saints?
Denver?
I'm sorry, this thing jumping around. It was the Chiefs. It was the Chiefs and the Chargers where he fumbled. He lost it. Next drive, his next play, he dropped the pass he was thrown. I remember that because so I like you said, I agree. I'm glad that he sat him out. McKissick runs well. The offensive line did play really well yesterday, even having the injuries they had. And I want to mention something as well on the blocking, but I like that he kind of gave him a chance to redeem himself, and that he did essentially. Now, in terms of long term with Antonio Gibson, I think you need another. I think he's an A-B guy, meaning like a running like a. I think he's part of a two-headed monster at running back. I don't know if he's meant to be your every down guy, just because. And I don't know how healthy he is right now. It seems like maybe he's getting more healthy, but he's clearly still lacking explosiveness. And maybe if he had all of his explosiveness, he can be that. But my question is, will he ever have all of his explosiveness if he's getting all the carries every game? Because his body's not used to taking that pounding based on what he did in college. So, I mean, yeah, I'll let him finish the season out, but I think that I want to see another piece. Maybe that's Jarrett Patterson, in the future. Maybe it's someone else, but I don't know if I want Antonio Gibson as my 20-plus carries a game guy. I don't know if he can sustain that over the course of a career.
Yeah, from here on out, I would make him earn that lead back role, and I would split every other drive. I would go Patterson, obviously with McKissick and run in a pass situation. Then I'll flip him in and out because you just can't have that. You can't have that.
You can't, and he's fumbling for the same reasons he always has. He's carrying the ball too loose.
Exactly.
You can when he lost it, it was down like at his hip.
Yeah, and
he's running, in between the tackles or in between the guard and the tackle. So it was just way too easy for that ball to get knocked out.
Way too easy.
I think they had 190 rushing yards. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that in the game where your two tight ends are John Bates and Sammis Reyes, two rookies who have a long way to go to develop as tight ends, but who give everything they've got as blockers, that they had their best rushing performance against a really good defense of the Panthers in the same game that you had your two starting tight ends out and had two guys who just don't care about anything but blocking the man in front of them at tight end. I don't think it's a coincidence, Tay. John Bates, I've watched back and seen. Sammis I saw a little bit of. I want to see more. But I think that like the offensive line, absolutely give them their credit because they're the ones who led that charge. But I think those tight ends, John Bates and Sammis Reyes, made a difference yesterday. Bates especially, because they were really running the ball really well yesterday.
Yeah, and I agree. Bates looked good catching the football and blocking.
Right.
I think I know Alex put in a group chat talking about the tight end group hasn't missed a beat, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I want to see more Bates. I want to see more. I want to see what happens with, and I think someone else tweeted, it was a fantasy guy. He was talking about the tight end position for Washington and talking about how the tight end group doesn't miss a beat. It's good to pick up Washington tight ends because Scott Turner gets those guys involved.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been a blessing that Thomas has been out because now you get a chance to develop
Bates. Yeah.
And now I don't know what's going to happen. They may be able to do some 3 tight end sets. They may be able to open up the packages a little bit more due to Ricky Seals and Logan Thomas being hurt. So I'm interested to see if they sit out Logan another week and let's see what you got with Bates and Reyes. I don't know, but they did a great job blocking. And Bates, I know you tweeted a clip of him finishing a guy, and that was really good. So
right. Like it's a mentality. Blocking is so much of a mentality. And there will always be a place in the league and on like Washington team for a tight end who gives everything they got as a blocker, is good as a blocker, and then catches the ball. Like you don't have to be dynamic because Bates is like as a route runner, he's slow. He's not dynamic as a route runner, and I'm sure he can improve, but he'll probably always be slow. But Jason Witten was slow for his whole career. You know what I mean? So if you can block, and then if you can you'll be open. There'll be times when you'll be open in the middle of zones, and if you can just catch the ball like he did on that 4th down play yesterday, there'll always be a spot for him as a 2 or as a 3 or as a. But I mean, look at last year, Logan Thomas, and then behind him was Jeremy Sprinkle and Marcus Baugh. Yeah. And so to go from that to Logan Thomas to Seals Jones, who's made an impact, and then to Bateman, not Bateman, what's his name? Bates to Bates, who's made an impact. It feels like your third tight end now is better than your second tight end was last year. And that's not even mentioning that Logan Thomas, had to, grow into his role as a tight end.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, I guess the other thing on offense, aside from Terry McLaurin, who's obviously just always fantastic, and there's not really much else to say about him, Taylor Heinicke had the highest rating from Pro Football Focus of any quarterback so far with Tom Brady and Daniel Jones left to play tonight at 88. And the next closest was 81 and some change. So Heinicke, he's bouncing back after a tough stretch. Where do you stand on Taylor Heinicke?
He's still a backup, in my opinion.
There's some people who really don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what he is. I mean, I need a guy that can be consistent throughout a season. I don't want you a second half player, and I think that's what Ron needs. I'm okay with Heinicke possibly starting next year with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
On his behind, but I think he'll start possibly, depending on who you get and depending on the offense. I think he'll come in as the starter depending on how this year ends. Man, he's a baller. He's playing within his means. He's not doing anything extra. He's taking what he has, and I think he's developing.
I think so too. Especially in the red zone.
In the red zone, I think he's developing, man, and that's what I want to see. So I don't think he's the answer, but these next couple of games are huge for him. If he is the answer, these next games are going to be huge because Monday night, if he balls out on Monday night, then you have to start to reconsider, like, is he? I mean,
man, we're gonna keep riding this roller coaster up and down, aren't we?
And then if he goes above 500 in the NFC East, then you got it. I mean,
I enjoy Taylor Heinicke. I enjoy watching him play, and I love when he got, first of all, when he slid and whoever the Panthers player was that crushed him on his slide, which you just obviously can't do. And then the Panthers players sees the flags and is like, "What did I do?" That's just stupid.
That would always be us. So it's good to be on the opposite end of that.
Exactly. But I love Heinicke getting up and getting in his face because Taylor Heinicke has the mentality that you want from a franchise quarterback. He has the presence. The locker room clearly respects him. Like you know what I mean? Like he has everything you want in terms of the way he presents and carries himself in terms of being a franchise quarterback. So like, give me that. Just give me just a little more juice in some other areas. But I'm not going to take anything from him because he's played well these last couple of weeks. He should have had 4 touchdowns yesterday if he doesn't miss Terry McLaurin on that one throw, right? I mean, let's look back. Okay, let's see how many good games he's had, how many bad games he's had. Because, I mean, the Chargers game, that one's kind of tough to say it was good or bad. He came in and then the offense just didn't have opportunities because the defense couldn't get off the field. We'll skip that one. The Giants game was a good one.
Good game.
The Bills game was a bad one.
Bad one.
Falcons was good.
Mm-hmm.
Saints was bad.
Bad.
Chiefs was bad.
Bad. Very bad, yeah.
Packers was like
solid.
Like it was like you had the early dive into the end zone. You had a couple things. I mean, well, I guess I'll call that one middle. They didn't finish. Broncos was bad.
Bad, yeah.
Then Bucks and Panthers were good. So he's up to 4 good games, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll say about 4 bad, and then 2 that are kind of tough to really say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but it is about stringing together good games, and so this is his first time stringing together back-to-back good games this season.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, can he string 2, 3 together, and then 4, and then so on and so forth? That's the question. Because I would give you that he needs to develop.
Yeah. Well, now you have to wonder. I mean, if he gets some weapons back, I keep saying this every week. Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, possibly.
I mean,
let's talk about DeAndre Carter for a minute. Oh my goodness, dude.
That's another one. That's like exactly like the J.D. McKissic signing. Exactly like it. I love signings like that.
Yeah.
He is what you would have hoped, Steven Sims would be or whatever.
3 touchdowns in his last 3 games.
Yeah. And they've all, I mean, that like it really seems like there's a chemistry growing between Heinicke and DeAndre Carter.
Yeah.
And he can get open.
He gets open.
That's not an issue. So I'm curious to see why it is that he's been on and off of so many teams. Mm-hmm. Is it just the NFL, and there's just always someone better? Has he improved? Because it could just be that he's gotten better, I know he had a fumbling problem in other places, and so, that can be the kiss of death. But here, he's been what you would want a slot guy to be.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean,
what, Cam Sims Jr.?
Yeah, and same thing with Cam. Is it a coincidence that, Cam Sims is getting more opportunities and that the offense is playing better? Because that's kind of the same thing that happened. I don't want to give him too much credit. Yeah. We know what the level of player he is, but De'Ami Brown hasn't done anything for you, and he's a rookie, so I'll give him that. I'll give him the year. But Cam Sims, that was a nice catch he made in the touchdown. Drew the PI a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Maybe you're finding your combination, of guys. Now, I'll tell you this, DeAndre Carter is better than Adam Humphries in the slot.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He's more dynamic. He's quicker. Humphries isn't bad, but I think you can just get more juice from DeAndre Carter.
Right.
So that's exactly like the J.D. McKissick, like the Wes Schweitzer signing, like the Logan Thomas. Like this staff, these guys, Scott Turner and Rivera, I'd love to know kind of who is the mastermind behind some of these low-level signings that work out. I'm sure it's a group effort, I guess, but somebody probably had to have seen, somebody pinpointed it, right?
Right.
But like they seem to do well on those, and then it's the bigger names that for one reason or another don't work. Now, like Curtis Samuel, he's been hurt, but he has been playing. Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt. And did you hear the theory that Fitzpatrick hurt his hip at the water park?
I did hear that, yeah.
I'm super late on that. I didn't hear about that at the time, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then William Jackson III, who has been better lately, but still.
He's been playing good. He just got to get comfortable. So I think
getting comfortable.
I don't think he earned it in the beginning, but I think towards the end, I think you're going to see he earned his money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think now what I need to see is some splash plays from him. Like I need to see him go get some interceptions. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I like their ability to find these under the radar free agents, give them a role, and they just take it and run with it. Mm-hmm. So DeAndre Carter has definitely been that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It was an impressive overall game. What negatives did you see? Just so we can kind of, be prepared for something that may pop up again. For one, I thought Cole Holcomb didn't have a great game. He had a couple positive plays, but he spent a decent amount of time in the same realm or range as Christian McCaffrey, and there were some situations where there's I guess probably not much he can do, but still, I thought he had an average to not great game. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone that stood out to you on a negative side?
Honestly, no. The only negatives I had was the injuries. Cosme getting hurt again, and Schweitzer getting hurt. I think he came back in.
He came back in. Yeah, Larson got hurt.
Larson got hurt. So no, honestly, I think I can't. Cam Newton's pass to McCaffrey was a great pass. You had the You had the emotion going in on that first drive. So of course, they were probably going to score more.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't. Joey Sly is a dog. I love him.
You saw his Instagram post?
Yes. I've never felt as confident as a kicker with him. He's just like, you just know it's money when he kicks.
Yeah. So even when he has to kick it twice.
I know, right?
He'll make both of them, man. That's crazy.
So I think he's going to be the MVP for the second half of the season if they make it to the playoffs. But I think it was a well-rounded game, different than the last game. I liked how they battled back from that 7-0, and the emotion with Cam running to the
center field. Yeah.
Let me tell y'all something.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, a lot of people saying, "Oh, we should have got Cam Newton." No.
I agree.
It doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. It fits for them because it's the homecoming. He's going back to Carolina.
Yeah.
That's fine. The storyline, that's fine. He does not fit in Washington, D.C. So stop saying Cam Newton needs to come to Washington and we missed out on. No, we did not. We did not miss on Cam Newton. We did not.
I agree.
I don't think he doesn't fit here.
I agree. I'm with you, Tay, all the way. I'm with you all the way. Yeah, aside from the fact that, Washington won yesterday and Taylor Heinicke played well, against head to head against Cam Newton. Like, yeah, I just don't think he fits. I think Rivera would have brought him here, but the Panthers are in a different spot.
Right.
Like they needed, like, they hadn't brought in their guy. Like Washington's guy this year was Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they lost him. And then you play your backups, and then they had Sam Darnold, who was their guy, and then he got hurt. And so you bring in Cam back, you know what I mean? And like you said, it's a homecoming. It's selling tickets. Fans are excited. They're still in the playoff hunt and in a better spot than Washington. So it makes sense to me there. But here, I agree. It wouldn't have made it just. And still, like, what's the point? Because what is your goal this season? Now, if they contend and they make the playoffs this year with the team they have, then like we did it with what we have with who we are. Exactly. If you bring in Cam. Is Cam Newton going to carry this team to the Super Bowl?
Exactly. I think he's selfish. I mean, that's just me. I think it was all about him yesterday, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
But I feel more better going on a 2-game streak with Taylor Heinicke and what we have than if we would have signed Cam Newton and won 2 straight, because then you're delusional. And then it's like Cam is the quarterback of the future. No.
Right. Yeah, we can just build around Cam.
Exactly. You see, no.
He's like 30-something. Exactly. He's going to get hurt again.
Exactly. And with this situation, it's like you're winning with Heinicke. Now, I truly believe that this team is a quarterback away just by how they won the offensive scheme.
Yeah.
And I believe that you give up whatever you have to give. And I think it's showing that you don't need – if you just play sound football, yes, it's good to have those pass rushers down there, but I really believe this team is a quarterback away from being really special. I just think so.
Special quarterback, man. Yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about it when we talk about this Seahawks game, but your last 7 games, you know, and you play seven games, but you play 5 teams. And the best one is the Cowboys. They might be cooling down. We'll see, you know. And then it's not that Washington is particularly – I wouldn't say Washington is better than any of these teams on paper. But it's about when you get hot and when you get cold at the right time.
Yeah.
And Washington may be getting hot while all these other teams are cold. The Seahawks are ice cold.
Yeah.
Like they, with or without Russell Wilson, they're ice cold. The Raiders are lukewarm at best.
Yeah.
And then the Giants and the Eagles will always be back and forth. You never know. So, man.
This is huge. This stretch is huge. And if they win Monday night.
Yeah. Which I'm very curious to see now, you know, with the small sample size we have, but Taylor Heinicke has played his best football in the 2 primetime games he's played. But is that enough to overpower Washington's incredibly terrible record on Monday Night Football for the last 20 years? I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be an interesting game because I think Heinicke's out to prove a point. I mean, he has his team right where he wants it.
Yeah.
And literally, I don't. What will it take for you this last stretch? And this is what I have left.
Yeah.
For you to go into next season saying Heinicke's our guy. What would it take?
Mm-hmm. What would it take? That's a good question. Like it's a perfectly fine question to ask, and it would take a lot. But basically, we just broke down the good and bad games he's had, right? But you remember that Giants game, you remember that Falcons game, okay? He would basically have to play on that same level essentially for I'd say 6 of the last 7 games. The offense has to continue humming. Even if the running game is a big factor, you got to be scoring 24 plus a game, okay? Like he's got to be the interception to touchdown ratio has got to be good. You know what I mean? Like what it was before these last 2 weeks, he's 4-0 these last 2 weeks. So now he's 15-9, I think, but he was 11-9 before that. So I need this trend to continue. Mm-hmm. So basically, I really just need to see him continue to play these last 2 weeks, that Falcons and that Giants game. I need to see that for 6 out of the 7. Actually, no, to feel comfortable going into next season for 7 of the last 7 weeks. He would need to do it for every game.
What ratio would you like to see for that?
Interception touchdown ratio, 4-1. Because he's got some making up to do.
Okay, so 20-4?
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily like it could be 10-2, it could be 10-2 or or I guess 8-2 is what it would be, or 12-3. But it just needs to be pretty significant. And then they would need to make the playoffs, and he would need to continue that in the playoffs. And if they lose in the playoffs, it needs to be for reasons other than him playing poorly.
Right.
Like he would really, really, really need to play well consistently for these last 7 games.
So where would you rate yesterday's performance from what we've seen as a fan?
Since we've seen it, like, what do you rate it how?
Like his 16 for 22, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, converted some good third down, running the football pretty well, scrambling. Yeah. How would you rank that performance compared to what we've seen from that quarterback position the last 3 or 4 years?
I see what you're saying. I mean, Heinicke has played the best of any quarterback Washington has had since Kirk Cousins. So I'd probably rate it above anything we've seen since, like, 2017 Kirk. Was that Raiders game in 2017?
I believe so.
So probably like that.
Okay.
Probably. Yeah, because it was very good. Like, he was definitely very good yesterday. He had really that one miss to Terry McLaurin that should have been a touchdown. That's the only that's the big one that sticks out. Had a sack or 2 that he shouldn't have taken, but other than that, I mean, so it's just the consistency, man. He
stayed healthy. So far he has stayed healthy.
Yeah, I have not said anything about that.
I mean, it is what it is. At this point, I'm like, it is what it is.
We'll know who to blame if something happens.
Yeah. He's been smart. He's been smart with sliding and getting out of bounds. And I think that's
very smart. And he's like had to learn the balance because he started protecting himself too much, and we really learned that against the Packers. And so now he's found the balance. Yeah. It was weird. Just quickly, there on the play one of the plays when he got sacked yesterday, and he was like being grabbed around the neck and then taken down, and then the Panthers player wouldn't let him go, and they were just lying on the ground. Like, I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Defensive players are so annoying sometimes. Defensive players are worse than offensive players all the way. From the cornerbacks going like that when the ball was 15 yards overthrown, but they're doing that and they were beat.
Or when the receiver drops it.
And they got beat, but then they go like that. Or they like throw the receiver onto the ground and get a PI and are like, what? Or what we talked about yesterday, just doing the most. Defensive players are annoying, man. Yeah. I'd be an offensive player. Yeah. All right, I guess that's all we've got until we're talking about the Seahawks game. And I do want to talk about, because I was talking last night with someone about Russell Wilson. I think it's time for the Seahawks to just start over. Yeah, and how I could see that happening as well. And just about all that as it pertains to Washington. So that's all I've got. Tay, you got anything else to add?
I just think it's going to be a big game. It's going to be huge. I know the place is going to be rocking. Heinicke on prime time. I'm expecting a treat. Honestly, I really am. And
I hope so. I hope it's not one of those stupid, crazy turnover games.
No, I think
like
their
wild
defense
ones.
is terrible. Their defense is terrible.
Who are we playing? The Seahawks defense is bad. So I'm just saying, like just the silly turnovers, like just the stupid ones,
fumbles and
like the crazy stuff, or like drop pass interceptions, fumbles, muff punts, that sort of thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm expecting a blowout, personally.
Oh man, okay.
I think they'll get the show on the road. I just cannot see them losing this game after winning Tampa and then beating a solid defense.
Really the best passing defense.
The best passing defense in the league. And granted, he only had about 189?
206, I think.
206, but I mean, shoot.
Guys were running wide open, man.
Wide open.
That fourth down to DeAndre Carter, the first one, wide open. We won't talk about Scott Turner right now, but just remember that. And I mean, and there was more opportunities. He should have had 4 touchdowns, Yep. So, the Seahawks defense is not what the Panthers defense is, but at the same time, said the same thing about the Chiefs defense when they were the worst in the league, and then Washington scored 10 points. So, but a blowout on Monday night, that would be fun.
I just think this team is geared towards this. They know what it took last year to get to where they went, and I just think they're going to use that as fuel this year to say, basically, if we do our job, we're in.
Yeah, yeah.
You win the game, you win, you're in. Pretty much. I mean,
Right.
that's it. It's no more. You at this point, you win, you're in.
Yeah. And then they play the Bucks again in the wild card
No,
round. Yeah, Terry McLaurin doing the Chase Young kind of celebration thing,
yeah,
like that kind of sort of thing speaks to I think the level of, I don't know, teamness
right.
is the word I'll use within the team. Like the locker room still is solid,
Right.
I believe. So I think that's very important. And ultimately, when you like, it's which comes first. Do you lose the locker room, that's why you lose, or do you lose and that's why the locker room falls apart? I don't know. Either way, I think when you stay together through the losing, the wins will come.
Right.
But if you fail to stay together, the losses will continue because you can be together but then not bounce back. So that's where I'm at, man.
And what I'm learning is it's such a long season.
It's such a long
Look
season.
at Buffalo, 6-4 now.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is, and yeah, I mean, the Panthers who they just played and the Raiders they played both started 3-0, hot as any team.
yeah. Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. It is a long
kind of
season.
mellowed down a little bit, so I think the Browns were doing well at one point.
Yeah. The Browns started off strong. I mean, the Browns brought the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Bengals. It's just, and then the number of upsets. Sorry, quickly, because the number of upsets this year has been crazy. These last 3 weeks, really. I mean, the Texans beat the Titans yesterday.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
At all.
Us beating the Bucks, the Dolphins beating the Ravens, the Jags beating the Bills. There's others that I can't even remember, but the upsets this year really not even this year, just these last 3 weeks have been insane.
Yeah.
I can't fathom how the Texans beat the Titans, but whatever, man. And on the other side of things, Washington only dropped one spot in draft position after their win yesterday. So, hey, win-win. Win-win-win. All right. We'll get out of here. Monday Night Football. I hope it's fun. And may or may not be there. We'll see. I
think I'm going to enjoy this one from the comforts of my own.
That's fair. All right. Well, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you for always watching. This is Todd.
This is Tay.